and welcome back to the Citizen channel. I hope you're all staying safe and well. And our match day programme, watch the home version where we have a look through what's in the latest City programme and read a couple of excerpts out of a couple of the articles in it as well. So we're going to look at City versus Southampton. Yeah, good obviously 4-0 victory. 8th of October 2022, match day 9, but this was the fifth produced home programme of you, obviously with the Champions League as well. So there we go. Yeah, Mr. Haaland on the front again. I mean, he has been on before. I mean, you can spread it about a bit, lads. You know, we do love him, of course we do. But give the others a chance. You know, we've got at least 17 man squad, haven't we? If everyone's fit, so stick a couple of kids on, stick a couple of different sort of front covers on as well, like they did with the United one. So there you go. We're going to have a look through this one today. £4 for 84 pages, as you know. It's available from www.reachsportshop.com. They don't say it in the programme, but you can also subscribe to 12 issues as well as 26. But obviously for 26, it will cost you £97.50 plus £65 if you're in Europe, and £80 the rest of the world. I don't know what classes as Europe these days. Now we've left it, I don't know. You'd have to check. I have no idea. I assume it's the EU zone still classed as that anyway. And of course, you do get the Champions League programs a little bit cheaper because obviously they are £5. So if you subscribe to the 26, they all work out at £3.75. So you do gain a little bit if you do subscribe to it. And yeah, as I did it for a couple of seasons and didn't have any problems. A couple went missing with the Royal Mail and they just sent out a replacement. So yeah, no big problem. So there we go. Inside, we've got the usual. Let's have a look at the usual, and then I'll talk about the unusual as well. We have Pep, all the standard stuff with Pep praising, talking about Southampton last game against Copenhagen. The player feature has Haaland, of course, as an interesting stat. Yeah, passes per match. How many do you think? 14.25. That's okay, isn't it? It's okay. I mean, obviously, you look at his stats of goals and assists, it doesn't matter, does it? But 14.25, that doesn't sound too bad to me, actually. Although it probably is a little bit low. Be interested to see him compared, won't you, the head-to-head that they do. See him compared to other strikers, see what they do. As far as passes, anyway, not as far as actually scoring goals. We know he's way ahead. Kevin Cummings has a little early photo shoot. It's all Oasis, this one. Great picture there in the red and black striped kit. And of course, it was a shoot for the NME. In Southsea, yeah, he tries to pick something relevant to the team that's visited. And he's never shot anything in Southampton as such. So the nearest he could find was something in Southsea. Head-to-head today is interesting. It's like Grealish against the midfielder Stuart Armstrong, which slight discrepancy in the positions, but some interesting stats. I mean, Grealish has played 126 games in total. Armstrong has played 124, but Grealish was ahead in all the stats, including big chances created. Yeah, but Grealish had created 32 big chances, and Mr. Armstrong only 8. So we've got to get ourselves a little gem there, haven't we? Don't listen to the detractors on Mr. Grealish. Double agents, yeah, players who played for both. Another slightly unpopular one. We tend to do this in the City programme. We tend to do things for players who are not exactly fans' favourites. And this time we've got ex-City player Wayne Bridge, who played for Southampton as well. Ex in the City features Stephen Jordan. We'll go back to him in a minute for his little thoughts on his early days at City. Kitted out, Marc McCarthy looks at kits worn by, well, our legend Colin Bell, and there'll be an extract from that as well in a moment before we finish off this little programme review. The quiz, City Kids, 2 pages of puzzles. Dr. Gary James, a great article. Yeah, when I come to look at the extracts to read, I mean, I could have done one for Gary James as well. He looks at the history of our wonderful, our claim to fame, wasn't it? How true it is. Probably was true. The tallest floodlights in Europe. I think they're certainly the second tallest anyway in Europe, that's for sure. But and that's the only thing we had to brag about, wasn't it? The size of our pitch and the biggest floodlights. That was the only thing we ever had to look at. But Dr. Gary James looks at the history of those floodlights and from when they were first put up there to how they were changed and obviously when we finally left Main Road. The difference. Matchmaker picks out 10 standout games for a City player. In this issue, it's Kevin De Bruyne looking at Genk, which was first team he played for, games for Belgium, and of course City. Nothing for Chelsea though. I noticed that's all right. You have the usual City women, City under-18s, EDS, and of course Buzzer, who was more or less talking about the United game in his piece. Right, on to the couple of extracts before we finish this little review. I'll start with X and the City, which is Stephen Jordan. Got a great picture of him there, Stephen Jordan. Not a player I'm overly remember particularly. It's the sort of player I would eventually do a vlog on at some stage. I mean, not enough years is the guys. I'll probably be old and decrepit by the time I get round to it. But it's the sort of player I like to do vlogs on. I don't always want to do the big names. I like to do the quirky ones that people say, oh, yeah, sort of remember him. I like doing stuff like that. Anyway, let's just read the first couple of questions he was asked and the answers to them. The question, Stephen, he said, you joined the City youth system when you were a youngster, but your connections to the club run deep. He said, I was a City fan as a boy and still am, of course. It was a family thing and I used to go to Main Road quite a lot. All my family are City fans, all my aunties and uncles, my mum, my brother, but my dad was the only United fan. Yeah. So it was always quite an interesting day on Derby Day. I don't think I ever heard my mum and dad argue apart from on that day. Okay. Second question, tell us about your early memories of breaking into the first team. He said, Kevin Keegan was obviously really good at it, gave me my debut, but Stuart Pearce, who was his assistant at the time, probably had a bigger influence because he played in a similar position to me and gave me lots of advice. I think my second start was in the 2004 derby at Old Trafford. I remember vividly that whole week I was nervous because I was left back and Cristiano Ronaldo was their right winger. But then you get to the ground, you just seem to disappear when you get on the pitch. You were just there to do your job. We drew 0-0, which was a good result in those days because they were a big force then, like City are now. I had a lot of friends who were United fans who were at the game. I gave the ball away quite close to our box in the last minute and they were shouting, oh no, even though they are United fans. They were almost cheering against their own team because they didn't want me to mess up. They were saying to themselves, what are we doing here? They probably wouldn't do that now. So there you go. That's Stephen Jordan on family rivalries, of course. Always families. Yeah, I mean, obviously my dad took me to Main Road as a kid, but my big brother, I got two brothers. My middle brother wasn't really interested in sport. He wasn't sort of just didn't like it. He just wasn't interested in any sort of sport. But my big brother was a United fan, strangely enough. So did go to a few games. I never went to watch the United game or even City United, but he did come to a handful of City games with me. I'm not too sure, just ones he fancied because they were big games. I remember if you think back to what was it, 19. I think the one with when Colin Bell made it, the Boxing Day one, which was fantastic when he made his comeback. He came to that because it was such a special thing in the hope that Colin Bell might play and stuff like that. But yeah, so my family allegiances, and obviously my exes and her family were big City fans. So yeah, it's interesting how you thought can have a mix of City and United. And Kitted Out, yes, just looking at Kitted Out, which is obviously the one by Marc McCarthy with the shirts. Just read the last couple of paragraphs about the legend and king and one of them, I was going to say my all-time favourite, one of my favourites. I've got lots of City favourites, but this guy was unbelievable. Just read the last couple of paragraphs. It talks about his time at City. During a trophy-laden spell with the club, he played a starring role as we won second and first division championship medals, FA Cup and League Cup winners medals, and European Cup winners cup medals, while collecting 48 caps for his country along the way. Many Blues will argue the stats and international caps would have been so much higher if it had not been for the devastating knee injury sustained during November in 1975 League Cup tie against Manchester United at Main Road. I mean, well, we don't argue it; it's a fact. We know damn well it would have been, and we know damn well City probably would have won another title or two if Colin Bell had stayed fit as well. Would have had a couple of titles, I think, to add to what we, the ones we had at the time. It's only a couple of league titles, wasn't it? He goes on to say, a shy and humble man off the pitch. I did actually speak to Colin Bell once on the phone. I never met him personally when I was doing my sort of defunct or false start with my City magazine in the late 80s. I spoke to him at his restaurant about an interview. So I never actually got to shake his hand or see the guy. There's a great picture up there, wasn't there, of Marc with Colin Bell. But yeah, fantastic. Anyway, sorry, I'll get back to this just before we finish. And Marc goes on to say, a shy and humble man off the pitch. I once asked him if he could take one thing from today's game and transfer it into his era. Then what would it be? What would he say? What would he say to that? To which he simply replied, the pitches. Yeah, you match all the quagmires Colin Bell had to play on. Yeah, the pitches, and I think I could have played okay on them, he said. I'm sure millions of others would agree, Colin, said Marc. I think we would, absolutely. Imagine players like Colin Bell on the sort of snooker table, the quality pitches the players play on now. It would have been absolutely. It was magical anyway. It was magical watching Colin Bell anyway. It would have even been more magical, wouldn't it? Anyway, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Not the greatest. Say the United programme was quite good. Not the greatest one this time, but when you've got Colin Bell in it, it probably makes up. And the Floodlights, you got the Floodlights in it, and Colin Bell probably makes up for anything, doesn't it? Fantastic. So you can buy these individually as well, don't forget, guys. So if you're really interested in that Colin Bell article or the Floodlights, you can get it I think it's £4 plus postage from reachsport.com that we've already talked about. So you don't have to subscribe, you can buy them individually. And at the moment, a lot of stuff on the internet, if you look at series, some auction sites are quite expensive for City stuff. So look on there first, and if you don't, just go to Reach Sports and buy a copy if you fancy a copy of it, anything like that. You don't have to subscribe and just buy them independently, so it works out £4 plus £1.50 postage, so £5.50. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your comments, any thoughts, anything you've read in there of interest to you. If you did get the programme yourself, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. Please, until we meet again, I ask one thing, don't I? Please stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Bye for now.